Okay, Zero to Alpha podcast number 39 with Barry Robinson. How are you?
Outstanding, man. I feel really good. I feel really good. Can't complain at all. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine myself. I mean, I'm in Thailand, so can't complain.
The world should be envious. I know. Trust me. I understand. Yeah.
um, Before we go into training, I wanted to maybe look at the person behind the Millions Dollars Boxing because,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you
Guy's
can give
crazy, man. He's crazy. He's completely nuts. Completely.
you can give as much as little as you want, but sometimes it's good to know the person behind the brand, if I may say it like that.
Right.
So maybe the first thing that I wondered was what got you into combat sports?
Yeah, originally back in the day, my sister was an amateur boxer, my father was an amateur boxer, and they took me to the gym. I hated it. I liked basketball. I'm a New York guy. We play basketball and baseball. So that's what I
Mhm.
like to play. It wasn't until I was older and I came out the military. I'm doing personal training. I'm training as amateur boxer at Gleason's in Brooklyn. And I just kind of fell into coaching. My coach stopped showing up to the gym one day. Literally, he just stopped. Personal people have their own shit going on.
Mhm.
And I ended up kind of having to teach the class. And then I really enjoyed it. And I switched all my privates in New York from just pure privates, like PT,
Mhm.
to boxing personal training. And I started doing that. And the way we work in New York, basically, you take your clients to whatever gym based on the location. If you have a guy that works in Wall Street, then you take him to Church Street Gym. If he's uptown, closer to Herald Square, it's 34th Street. Okay, you
Mhm.
might use Fight House or Kingsway. It just depends on where you want to pay rent at. So that's what I was doing for a while, and then I really, really enjoyed boxing training. But then there was always this thing with travel because I never knew anybody that traveled. I'm from New York, like nobody got passports, anything like that. So I
Mhm.
actually had a girlfriend back in the day, and she would just show me shows like cooking shows or National Geographic, but these travel shows, and I would be blown away because I only knew that the five boroughs of New York existed: Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens. I mean, I knew there was a California, but it's not like you go there. I knew that. So I was just really blown away by the idea of different things. And then one day I saw Nat Geo. It was either Nat Geo or Discovery Channel. They did a piece on Svalbard called
Mhm.
Longyearbyen in Norway. And the guy is like, they have polar bears and you have to walk around with a shotgun. It was just a beautiful nature. And I was like, that was it. That was it for me. I went and got my passport and started traveling. And I got lucky to combine travel and my sport. I just walked in the gym in Norway. This is what I do. Let me take one of you guys on the pads. And that was the birth of it in terms of full time just working with athletes.
Mhm. And then eventually you also started with um, your videos. How do you call it? The coaching programs, the tutorials. That's the word I
Well,
was looking for.
I started on YouTube way back in the day. I had a really popular YouTube channel. I used to make film studies, things like this. Actually, I used to put all my training there. It ended up being like kind of a resume because, and I always tell young trainers this: always record your work because nobody's gonna believe you if you say if I tell you, I train Andy Sauer,
Mm.
Aldo, you're not like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So yeah, I think it's always important to have video because that's your resume. And I'm sorry, what was your question again? I went off track there.
Oh yeah, you switched to tutorials eventually.
Right. Yeah, but that wasn't like I've tried to do like tutorials back in the day, but I was doing everything myself. And you have to remember, I'm a kid from New York, and it wasn't like I was reading every book, so everything was trial and error. So I remember my first membership site I built myself, and
Mm-hmm.
I had way too many plugins. Like it was just completely not functional. Great
Mm-hmm.
work, not functional. So that was my first. I would say that was 2014. And the reason why I started that website because my YouTube channel had got so popular. I had two different YouTube channels, and I would get like professional coaches. Oh my God, thanks for putting this up here. I'm talking about like high level coaches, bro, from different MMA teams. Bah. And like that kept happening enough where I'm like, okay, I'm not the ads on YouTube are not adding up. I have
Mm.
something valuable here. Let me make a membership site. And that was my first thing. I made a membership site. I tried to make some tutorials that I filmed myself. I think you saw those on the
Yes.
website. Like that's just me in Norway outside, and that's just my young entrepreneurial spirit trying to
Mm.
take what I learn and monetize it. And and the reason why I started doing all that was I remember my first trip to Norway. I went to a business seminar. A girl, she took me to a business seminar, and the guy was like, he was telling a story about how he made all this money on the internet, and he went to a club in Miami, and he's, you know, in the VIP celebrating. P. Diddy is next to him in the VIP celebrating. You know, they're drinking, you know, the bottles, the girls, all this stuff. And he said at some point in the nighttime, one of P. Diddy's songs came on. And he realized at that moment that he was spending money and P. Diddy was making money, you know? And this, the whole story was, the whole story was about passive income. And that really blew me away. And I didn't, at that time, we're talking about now 13 years ago, 12 years ago, somewhere like this. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but it sounded very, very appealing to me. And I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed. And then luckily, I was also very stubborn in this industry. So coming to the tutorials, like Stuart had approached me years ago. And I was like, I was such at a point where I was protecting my work, protecting myself. I didn't trust anybody in the industry. You know, this is a crazy industry. And so I always said no, no, no. And then I think Stuart approached me again in like 2000, it had to be like 2016 or 17, I don't know. And we just made it work. And he's been really good and fun to work with. And it's actually been really good for me because I get to focus on what I like to do, is just teach. And the marketing stuff, as you know by now, I hate lying to people or saying stuff just to say it. I don't find any value in it. And I think if I would have done that for the past 13 years, I would suck as a coach because I wouldn't be trying to learn. I'd be more trying to convert a sell. So I just, that's kind of how it got started with tutorials.
I like how you put it in the way that you say, like, if I would have focused on marketing, I wouldn't have been the coach that I am today, because your work, like, it speaks for itself. Just like the tutorials alone, like, there's like a nice follow-up if you have all of them. Like, there's like, you have the base and you build up from there. And I like that approach because, like, what I feel personally is that, like, a lot of people in this industry, they're more doing it for the money and less for the passion. And
or to prove that they know something. And I was just having a conversation with this about somebody, like, here's the thing where it gets me annoyed. Like, some people okay, so I'll clear this up. I'm all for people, I'm all for the world, like people opening businesses, being proactive. I think it's the best way to use your brain. But here's the thing when it comes to combat sports. I'm not saying you have to work for 25 euros like I did at my first job at Voss Gym, and for a week, 25 euros a week. I'm not saying you have to go down that journey, but it'd be good for you. It'd be good for you instead of, okay, I'm on Instagram, I'm watching these videos, and now when I see this video, and I don't want to name some of these young guys, but they say, okay, I'm just going to watch content. And so here's the problem for me from a coaching perspective. I know from experience that that's not the way you coach, that you don't coach anybody that way. Like, I've never went to the gym and say, yo, check this move out. Okay, work on it on the bag. Go on the bag and work on it. That's not a development program. That's just you sharing information. And that's how bad habits are created. And when you look at the process of development, it doesn't matter if it's the military, basketball, baseball. Like, we could go a lawyer, typing. There's a process of development. There's a base, there's a learning process. And I feel like with social media, that learning process is really often skipped big time. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think the military kind of shaped your way of coaching?
Huge, because at the end of the day, when you look at the military, was everything for me, because when you look at what the military does, they take kids that have been with their parents the whole time, drinking milk, coddling them. And in 12 weeks, this person is standing upright. Their language, they have a new linguistics. They understand, and they do this in 12 weeks. How do they do it? Accountability. If you're fucking up, I'm going to hold everybody accountable. What does this create? That creates teamwork. That creates people watching out for each other. That creates leaders. People that can make decisions in wartime situations, tough situations. So if you look at the process of development, it's really hard to deny. And then, well, that's the military. Now we start looking at basketball, baseball. I talk to lawyers, I talk to artists, and I always ask them, hey, what's your creative process? How did you learn? Like, how did they lay the groundwork for you to learn how to be a lawyer? And you'll often come to the same answer. We had to do this drill. There's no broad language that anybody uses, very specific linguistics. And the best development programs, and if we take combat sports, what's the best development program? Easy jiu-jitsu. Anybody can walk into a jiu-jitsu gym if they follow their coach In 3 years, they'll be competing at a pretty good level. You possibly make black belt in 6, 7 years. Why? Because it's very clear. This is an armbar. This is inverted. This is, it's the linguistics. There's no room for speculation. Whereas I think in striking sports, there's a lot of speculative, broad terms. You know what I mean?
Yes. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, I feel like because I did MMA when I started out, and like, so the gym where I was, the coach when it came to jiu-jitsu, he had like you have to learn how to how do you call it again? The shrimp, I think. We had like basic
shrimp.
moves that we have to drill over and over again, like the basics. But when it came to striking, he never taught us footwork. Like, do you think striking is kind of getting dumbed down in a way?
Well, it's not kind. Well, shit. If anybody watched the Triller show this past weekend, there's your answer, man. That was one of the worst, I think, boxing productions. It wasn't about who's fighting who. It's not about celebrities fighting this guy, or it's more about the production. Oscar De La Hoya is on there, high out of his mind. They're just yelling and screaming, and so like boxing being dumbed down, we're like far past that point. Like we like, and it's for me, it hurts because it's such a beautiful sport. Like you can't say basketball is a better sport or this is a better sport or more entertaining. It's just the education doesn't come with boxing, and for some reason it's been decided that the fans are too dumb to appreciate the sport, and that sensationalism is the most important thing. And with that sensationalism, unfortunately, coaches get influenced. So, for example, if you look during Mike Tyson's era, Mike Tyson was a bad dude, man. The guy was like, you're not going to meet many guys you train or train with that actually want to hurt people or just crazy. And so Mike Tyson's era really inspired a lot of people to do what? Train how to punch hard. But you're not Mike Tyson, bro. You're not really committing. You're not that crazy. You're not going to commit to that punch. You're going to pull it back a little bit because you're afraid of the counter. And so I think Mike Tyson's era was, to me, like really the end all of, really, I think development took a really big dive after that. Because even me as a kid, tall, you walk into a gym, you're big and tall, that's the first thing they do. Big, heavyweight, hit him with the right hand. It's just, there's no development program per se.
Yeah. Are there boxers in this day and era that still excite you?
You know what excites me? I get excited by beating people. And that's how I keep becoming a better coach. So when I watch film now, even sometimes I'll say something critical online, right? Let's say I say something critical about a high-level fighter. That's not me. I'm not caring about this fighter or critiquing them. That's me trying to figure out ways to beat different systems and looking for holes in people's game. I don't feel like I can be a good coach by idol worshiping other fighters and other coaches. No, actually, you got a hole in your game. There's also a psychological advantage, obviously some gameplay here, but I think it's really important when you study and to be competitive and things like this, because that's how you get better as a coach. So everything I do as far as talking about things on social media comes from a place of questioning things and trying to get better. And I know from a fact that, winning underdog fights, how do you win them? Well, we go in, we drill a lot. That's just a fact. Like, I wish I could tell somebody, Lawrence Okoli, we sparred and that's how he got to move like he's moving today. No, that's not. We drilled. I put him in push-up position. Some days he hated me. Some days I hated him. That's just a process. But it's what you want to accomplish as a coach. What are we trying to accomplish here? We're trying to build. So the military was everything in terms of this mindset of, and think about it also with the military, they take different personalities, different heights, shapes, sizes, athletic ability, but everybody can do the same thing at the end of boot camp. That's the unbelievable development program.
I was wondering, like, because you have a certain coaching style where you say, like, if you mess up, you do push-ups, and we have, and at PK Senchai we have 2 trainers like that as well. They're like, I love to work with them personally because they're so strict, but like a lot of people are kind of like scared to work with them, and you might have like the same. Some people are like the same when it comes to trainer guy, because they see him on Instagram and he makes people flip and makes them do push-ups and it all looks scary, right. But in the end it comes like from the right place. Like how do you deal with that? Like maybe people being a little bit scared to approach you or work with you.
Well, good. Okay, so such a great question because they always when you're a young coach, like you meet these like older coaches. For example, like Tommy Brooks. If you look him up, he's like this old coach. He's worked with the who's who. He's been in the who's who in boxing corner. So I got a chance to work with him in L.A. And man, this dude, he'd be smoking his cigarettes, and he'd be like, "If these mother effers ain't listening to me, I ain't teaching today." And he would go sit down. He would sit down in a corner. He was getting paid. He would just go sit down and be like, and in my head, I used to be like, man, I can't wait till I get to a point where I can choose who I want to train. So to
Yeah.
answer your question, I actually like working online because I get to teach my way. I know that if I'm going into a contractual situation now with a gym, like there has to be so much language in a contract that I can go and teach the way I want to teach. The reason, sorry, give me a question one more time. I'm trying to, my brain is scrambled. I'm trying to bring it together.
How did I phrase this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I made a comparison with a guy.
Right. So, okay. So this is the way I feel. It's not just about punishing somebody, right? Of course, you're giving them opportunities to succeed. So let me break the drilling process down, right? And how this push-up thing works. Okay. So you come to the gym. I say, we do our warm-up. I say, okay, this is the drills we're doing. First drill, we're walking to our left. You can jab whenever you want to, but we're just walking to our left. So remember, a drill round is 3 minutes. Let's imagine Muay Thai fighter, kickboxer, boxers, 3 minutes. So now let's switch to the fight. So what do you do in a fight? In the dressing room, this is the game plan. First round starts, he's announcing your name. Whisper to the fighter, let's get in there, catch that jab. Remember, so this is the same thing in training. So we've given them the instructions, but right around, this is where drilling is beautiful. It's a 3-minute drill. Right around the 47-second mark, the dude thinks about the fight he had with his girl and how he'd rather be eating McDonald's, and his feet start crossing. Okay, the reason why we now get in push-up position, because if we do this in the fights, we're getting hit. You get hit with the left hook. So in training, instead of you getting hit with a left hook for making mistakes, you're in push-up position. And that's the way push-up is. So it doesn't come from a place of like, make you do push-up. No, it comes from a place of accountability. And this is, a lot of times I get frustrated like teaching drills or even with people that buy my tutorials because they just see the exercise and they're not understanding that accountability is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you know the work. I'm doing ta-ta-da. I'm doing low drill. How are you doing it? Were you held accountable for your mistakes? Were you in push-up position? Because I know for a fact that is how. Okay, so data is so important to me. You take Lawrence Okoli, great kid, bless his heart. I started working with him after his fight with Matty Askins, which was one of the worst fights that people say in London. It was clinch fest. And so it's a big project, bro. This is a big project. So a kid, he's stiff. But in 3 months, with drills, push-up position. You've seen the videos on my Instagram. Lawrence will say, yep, that's exactly what happened. That's how you turn somebody around. So I know for a fact, Dan Hooker, he'll tell you the same thing. Yeah, push-up position. But okay, I turn you southpaw in 3 months, you go fight in the UFC. That's not me. That's the system. That's the system of learning. That's the military's programming. That's how Steph Curry trains. They drill for the drill for the drill. You get confidence in the drill. How? Not because of just the push-ups, but also film study. So if you're stepping to the left, this is another thing about development. If you're stepping to the left every day and you're like, man, I'm doing this fucking drill. Okay, let's go to the film now. How important is this step to the left? Okay, well, every fight we watch, that's what people are doing, or stepping to the right, whatever it is, per se. So film study, a lot of people think training and film study is mutually exclusive. No, this is part of their training. You have to reinforce what you're doing daily. So this is the process of development. I wish there was another way around it. I'm just saying that I think the way I do it can get a quicker turnaround than most coaches. Like most coaches, it might take them a year to fix bad habits because they're doing a lot of talking. Whereas when you have a drill system, this is what we're doing, rounds 1 through 20. You need to listen to the instructions before and during a round. Every time you make a mistake, or I'll give you another one. Here's a sparring one, right? You want guys to get better at sparring? Okay, fine. You don't want to do a jab versus defense round? Fine. Here's how you could psychologically as a coach switch people right away. Their whole shit. Okay, you're going to open spar. if you get hit with more than 4 jabs in any round, you'll be in push-up position between a round. The fighter now doesn't want to get hit with a jab. Okay, his jab defense will improve. So it's you have to come. You can't come from this place of friendship. Oh, please, let's operate. And I did this, or in my fight in the '80s, I did. No, it's to me, this is not development, in my opinion.
I like that approach. Like right now, when I work with like Wong and Soren, they are the hardest trainers in the gym. Like I still mess up, especially because they like to tire you out and then they like to throw things at you. So
Right.
And they don't even have to say push-ups anymore. Like I just know. It's like I just look at them and they're like, and I just go down and do my push-ups. But in a way, sometimes I don't like to work with them, and I know I'm getting better. Like it sucks, but it works.
You just hit the nail on the head. So here's what push-ups. Here's the science behind push-ups. You go to training, you're not on top of your shit. You're fucking up. That's your accountable.
Yeah.
You end up doing 60 push-ups. Let's say that's on Monday, right? Let's say that's Monday. You do 60 push-ups. Tuesday, your head is still foggy. Maybe you did around 50 push-ups. Wednesday, your technique is airtight. Everything's perfect. That's the way it works. Why? Because your arms, you're like, so it's funny, right? Because it doesn't feel like that during the push-ups. It feels like punishment.
Yes.
But what you end up doing is, look at how development works. You make a choice at home while you're upset. You're telling your girl, my trainer's a fucking dick. I hate this guy. But you make a choice with yourself and you go, you know what? But I'm going in Wednesday. I'm not doing no goddamn push-ups. And guess what? Your technique got better. That's just the way it works. Yeah.
But it's, when you look at it, like some people, when they talk about trainers like that, they go like, oh, my trainer is killing me. Maybe I did something wrong. And especially in Thailand, because of the language barrier, like for some people, it's really hard to understand. And for me, sometimes when I went to a fight camp, it was hard to understand as well, because they would drown me in clinch. But after like being over a year being here, we're like, yeah, we do it because we care. We'd rather have you, exhausted in training than dead in the ring. Well, dead in the ring.
So you bring up a good point, kind of segues into a current dilemma. So unfortunately, the reason why push-ups won't work for most coaches and they may be scared to implement them is because there's the business of the gym, right? So this doesn't happen in basketball, baseball. It's not a gym business, anything. So with the gym business, owners are walking on the line of customer service and having to be a coach, but getting a person to pay a monthly membership. That's how you make your money. So I understand why coaching ends up being like a situation. I don't have to people, because you want a family environment. You want people hashtag this gym, hashtag you. This is what you want. You don't really necessarily want to burden people per se. So it's really difficult, I think, if you're a coach, and even if you mean well and you want to teach the right way, it's tough with the current gym structure. That's why I like the concept of amateur boxing club. Like, that's amateurs training for a purpose. Because if I had to personally open up a gym where I have to turn to customer service, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work for me because I don't want to teach that way. I always want to teach the right way and respect the sport. You know what I mean?
But like, if you look at it that way, it's like if you look at it from a money making perspective, you're basically, if you have a fight gym and you look at it this way, and this is an issue that I have with some gyms in Thailand, is that because they focus so much on money, they don't focus on the improvement of their students, and they're putting people's life, their health on the line, and like they don't suffer the consequences. Maybe they have a bad review, but they can delete that if they want. So it's like.
But again, this is the state of combat sports. So, like, it's so funny because when you look at the agility of, like, for example, I think it was like maybe 4 years ago, or maybe before that, I don't know. But it was like really a big thing where everybody in the NFL is catching one-handed passes. Like before, you need two hands on the ball, but these guys are so athletic and have so much agility and do so much different training that everybody can catch. It's a normal thing. The step back jumper in basketball, like. I think Paul Pierce back in the day had a good step back, maybe Michael Jordan. And now everybody, it's like common, that's just everybody they got flashy ways of doing it. So you see these sports like progressing per se. But the problem with combat, and so the reason why I said that is because these people always studying film. We know that because you can Google study channels about basketball, NFL on YouTube, and there's plenty of high level ones, high level with way professional. Anyway, so with boxing, we tend to watch highlights.
Mm.
We tend to watch. Oh, I hate to do this. I hate to do this. This is going to be controversial. We tend to study a boxing video by a guy online that has nice music to it in words, but
Mm.
you never watch the fight. You're watching
Yeah.
this video because it's entertaining, but you're getting a piece of the information. So I could dumb my film study, like what most people do online. I could dumb my film study way down.
Mm-hmm.
Sensationalism, Phantom Punch, these titles of different things. But the fact is that if you're not watching the entire fight and accepting what's on the film, you're missing a whole lot. So it's just like the thing I tell people about all the time: position. I do not care about strikes because the positioning. It seems like that's what fighters back in the day did very well. In boxing, you see a lot of this now. Even in MMA striking, where it's forwards and backwards, forwards and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back, you start looking at fighting back in the day, sumo, everybody went in a circle. Everybody went in a circle. And so it's, I think, a product of not watching fights and then accepting what you see in the fights. Like, it's like the old myth. Like, for example, people say Mike Tyson's favorite combination is a double uppercut.
Mm-hmm.
But on video, on an interview, Smitty asked him what's his favorite combination. He said it's a right hook to the body, a left hook to the head.
Mm.
But everybody, because of this thing they saw in a highlight, goes, it's the double Mike Tyson. And it's like, that's just not true. So there's just like, I think people are not watching the film in this industry. That's not, and again, everything I'm saying right now could just be qualified by, not because I'm saying it, but this is just a fact. We just don't watch film. We don't honor and respect our past. In boxing specifically, it's the four horsemen. It's Hagler, respect to them. Hagler, Hearns, Duran, Leonard. But there was more fighters than that. There was George Benson. There was Nicolino Loach. There was just so many, Henry Hank. There was so many great fighters. So how can we look at four guys and just look at their highlights? They had wars, and then look at the emphasis. They had wars with each other. Okay, what is that good? Is that a great thing? Is that what I should study? And it just becomes this. That's why we can't really develop.
We just. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
And I was just going to say, to equate that to Muay Thai, I think it's similar because I've worked in enough Muay Thai gyms, and obviously you cannot deny the success of Thai coaches, but Muay Thai should have evolved the same way boxing should have evolved. Kickboxing hasn't evolved at all, except for what the heavyweight, the Dutch guy, Rico Verhoeven, he's doing things that I look and I go, how come every small guy cannot do footwork, block kicks on a move, throw kicks? Like he has more agility. And so kickboxing, I would say, would be the worst of all the examples. But MMA now, you see the sport constantly evolving. The guys were fighting on the ground. Then guys started learning how to kickbox a little bit. Now everybody can do just about everything. Everybody can box. Everybody can kickbox. Everybody can do Muay Thai. Everybody can wrestle. Everybody can do jiu-jitsu. And you're seeing these awesome fights. And so good the sport is evolving that how many defending reigning champions are there in MMA? Not really, because the sport is evolving so much. This guy could have been good 3 years ago, but now he's old. In 2022 per se, or he's an old MMA fighter. Not in terms of age, but in terms of style, in terms of progression. So, yeah, just this is what kind of goes on. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree on that, and like a lot of Thais agree with you as well when it comes to Muay Thai. Like they say that Muay Thai dumbed down a lot because I've worked with some of the legend that fought in the 90s, and like when you spar with them, there's like a huge difference when in comparison to when you spar with like the current day fighters. They're like in their 50s right now, and they're so much faster, they're so much they're so much sharper, and they move so much better. It's like it's elegant to watch. Even when you watch their fights from back in the day, it's so much more entertaining than the fights you see now. And
well, if you look at the structure of training, right? So, for example, you have to remember, I'm back in the day in Holland teaching, boxing coach, and people were telling me from I was a young kid, you can't move, you can't do this, you can't do this. All the meanwhile, I'm watching Giorgio Petrosian, and obviously I'm in Holland, so this is the king of kickboxing and all this stuff. I'm looking at Giorgio Petrosian. I'm saying, guys, right now he's dominating the sport, and he's doing all the things that you tell me you don't want to train. He's slipping, he's walking left, walking right, he's checking kicks while he's doing it. And obviously, this went on deaf ears for a long time until I got really, really good confidence in the film, and I learned how to show people film. So what I would do is I would say, okay, can you please explain? I just saw him slip a punch and he didn't get hit with a knee. The automatic knee. You told me you didn't want to train this. You told me you get hit with an automatic knee. So how come he's doing it? And people don't really have answers for that. They don't have answers for that. And I just think it would be really nice for me. Like, I would really like it to the point where people start, like, if somebody's not saying something correct, like, instead of debating with words, like, we need to share video more often. Like, let's not have opinions. Okay, if you say something, make your point with video. Show me a fight, and then I could believe you. But I think this will really open people's minds. But as long as we're allowed to, like, just freely comment on shit, freely share opinions with no data, zero data, completely no data, then it becomes a point where, like you said, in Muay Thai, guys are just standing still, banging away, you go, I go. In boxing, the athletes, they end up fighting fixed fights pretty much for the first 16 fights. Then they fight somebody good, and all of a sudden they're in trouble. It's just this is not really good development.
But you mentioned something interesting, because like when you ask the average person, like, that doesn't know a lot about, like, they've seen boxing once or twice or some combat sport, like, what's the stereotypical fighter, then they will mostly say the same thing. They will say, tattoos, looks like he's been in a lot of fights. And then when you, for example, talk about Mayweather, then like, he just had a shoulder roll and he's boring. And I'm like, no. I want to be like Mayweather, because he can walk into a fight and he comes out the ring looking the same way like he stepped in. To me,
right.
That is impressive.
Right. So I had this debate. A good friend of mine, good friend of mine, and we've been talking combat sports for over maybe 15 years. So he sent me a James Toney video, and obviously I know him well enough, and I'm like, bro, how good was James Toney? Really? Come on, like, stop. He wasn't that good. Why? Because he can't talk. He has CTE. His brain is fucked. So that means that he wasn't that good. You cannot force me because of what everybody else thinks. I've watched James Toney fights. He get hit way too much. So I'm not, but again, it's the sensationalism of idol worship and going along to get along. I don't know. So I don't really like you said, if you just watch film, like you said with the Muay Thai guys, I don't know much about Muay Femur, but when I started hearing about Muay Femur, I said, wow, that sounds like a much smarter way to fight. Why don't people train this anymore? You know what I mean? Yeah.
But when back in the day, like, everybody was smart. Like, you even had like the Muay Mat and the Muay Cows, like the knee fighters and the ones that used punching more than kicks. They were all smart. Like, if you look at
men respected men.
Yes.
We live in a different era.
It's true. It's like now, like, I don't want to. This is a take that I saw online, but I agree with it. Like, people right now, they look at Rotang and they're like, oh, he's like this sensational fighter, and he's just throwing punches and bunches. Like, there's not, if you compare him to like the fighters that had the same style as him back in the day, there's like no IQ. It's just aggression. It's like pure aggression.
Right. And the thing with the like pure aggression is, like, there's always a time and a place. Like, aggression is cool, right? Aggression is real cool. But even if you look at an aggressive guy, like, take Rod Tang, for example. Yeah, sure, Rod Tang comes forward. Sure, he's aggressive, but he got skills. And I think, like, when you're looking at a guy like Rod Tang, you cannot look at him for entertainment value. You can't look at what he lands. You have to look at what he does in between landing, after. You have to, because that's how he gets in a position. So Rod Tang is actually a really brilliant fighter. I hate that he would be characterized as this killer or this stuff without people saying why he's a killer. Okay, he has pretty good base. He doesn't break his base often. He actually has a pretty good defense when he wants to. So
when he wants to. Yeah. Maybe people got also carried away with the highlights when it comes to him, when he like stakes something flush on the chin and then he punches his own chin, because
Right.
that's also the way they like to market him.
Right. Right. Well, of course they like to market him for this, but it's like I did a video, a fun video back in the, I think it was with Liam. I forget the guy's name, the fighter, Liam. What's the guy? Right, fights in ONE FC, great Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, Liam Harrison.
Right. So I did a video. There was a fight he had in ONE FC, and there was a knockout. But before the knockout, he defended against the jab. But the knockout was sensational. But the important part was he defended against the jab, and I think that's where we get lost in like combat sports. Like as far as even the announcing, and then it trickles down to the coaching, because especially because it's so easy to become a coach in this industry. Like the coaches see what land and they say, okay, that's going to be the focus of my teaching. And this is a massive step skipped, massive, like completely. It's such a massive oversight. Like, especially when you talk about putting people in a ring and they're fighting for you and they could possibly die. It's a pretty much massive oversight.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in my first fight, there was a guy in my corner, and well, I'm not gonna mention his name, but he's also he's also known online, and he would yell during the rounds like combinations, and so after the fight, I asked him for advice, like for my the rest of like what can I improve, and he was like, yeah, throw more combinations, and I was like, yeah, but which ones? Like what do you want? Like it's such a vague term, like combinations.
Well, that's where I come, like, and this is probably maybe it's not the nicest thing to say, but the truth is that okay, if we're talking about social media, we're going to be 100% real about social media. First of all, you're allowed to make an Instagram page. And if you're really nice to everybody and you take techniques you see from other places and you put words on the thumbnail, you can become really, really an expert online about stuff. The problem is, and this is the reality, and a lot of people don't believe this. Okay, so you're following this guy on social media, you're liking his stuff, but you would never hire this guy to fight prep you. Nobody's hiring this guy to fight prep them. Why? He's not really that good of a coach. I mean, he's not even that good of a coach. The person's not a coach. They're a person on social media just trying to make a name for themselves through this. But like you said, you hit the nail on the head, and this is why I try to explain to people the process of development. So when I say online, hey, you just learned some information. You did not learn how to train it. There's no program. There's no development. All you could do right now is really talk good. That's all you're learning to do online. That's it. And that's the same thing these guys know. What do they know how to do? Repeat stuff. The reason why it disappoints me, because people see me, like so many people, they're inspired to do film studies and coach and things like this. But like I told you, I was making 25 euros a week in Holland training killers, like people with money. They were leaving the gym in Audis and, I won't say names, but really famous fighters. This was my process. My process was working for people, disappointments, traveling the world. It wasn't go on YouTube, do some stuff, and then all of a sudden I learned that wasn't it. Like you said, I was fortunate. The military, timing, my coach happened to leave, leadership. I wanted to travel the world. I put myself in tough positions. I had so many underdog fights with guys. That's how I got to this point. I always held people accountable. I said no more than I say yes. When you Google me, some people say, okay, Barry disappeared. I was probably had a heavy heart and hated, I've hated this sport. I've loved it. And that's the process I got to get where I got. And I think a lot of people, they see that and they see my film studies and they go, or the guys that are inspired and want to do something like with social media or business. And they end up in the process of, okay, I can do that. But the difference is the coaching. Like, I would think you would want to be a great coach, not just be a spewer of information. And then, unfortunately, if you're really good at marketing, people see your page and they go, "Oh, this is brilliant information," and they end up trying stuff. They end up trying stuff. They end up getting hurt. And this is just the way it kind of works. And I think, I'm all for these guys if they took the process of proper learning how to coach. Find a mentor. Find an actual coach to mentor you. Don't just take information, go, I know this now, I can do this, because I think you're skipping, like, again, with my 13, 14 years, going on 14 years now, you cannot take that watching 20 film studies because I remember, sorry, I'm going to segue. I remember I was coaching some guys recently, right? And these guys have been doing my drills on the tutorials for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm coaching them. We did a Zoom chat. And at the end of the Zoom chat, it was like the intensity is far different because you're being held accountable. You're being coached the entire time. If you're moving slow, I need you to pick it up. Like I want people uncomfortable because we're training this. And so these are things about development and coaching that are very, very difficult. And a lot of people are not willing to do. Like you said, it's more easier with the marketing things like this to be friendly, to get a potential customer. You know, that's what people is. That's what it is. It's more like a business. I want a potential, and don't get me wrong, I have to do the same thing. But as you can see, I don't put much effort into being the nicest marketing guy or like under my post, bell whistle notification, link, you know, like with the emojis and everything. Like I just don't want to play that game. I just feel like the second I do that, I think I start sucking as a coach. For some reason, that's my fear in my head.
But for me personally, that's why I like you as a coach. That for me, that was like, oh, he's actually just focusing on what he needs to focus rather than trying to please me. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny you say that because, bro, I'm so terrible. I am the worst marketing guy in the history of marketing. Do you know that how many people have messaged me and I've probably like just told them off or like asked them what they. And it's not like me. Like I'm not trying to be mean to them. Like I could be nicer, but here's a few things. Like I don't like lazy people, especially when it comes to development. Like here it is. I have 562 posts. I think 560 some posts on my page. 90% of them are phenomenal education, whether it's the caption or the video itself. You can learn something from it. So when a person like comes to me, for example, we're talking about good students. Like you want good students. Like, and you asked me, okay, sorry, we were talking earlier about how I wanted to get to a point where I didn't have to train everybody for money because, you know, through this process, you have to work for money and you end up having to train who you got to train and you have to accept shit. So now it's to a point where a guy messaged me on Instagram and he asked me, what is the rhythm step? This is a terrible student. I'm not going to try to convert you to my website because you haven't even taken effort. You'd rather send me a text message than do the research and study when there's all the work is there. Like I have story highlights just on Instagram alone, you know? And so for like people like this, and that's what social media creates. I'm sorry, but that's what all of these channels that are geared this way, that's what they create. They create lazy people because they're not coaching them. They're giving them information. This is the problem with these channels. There's no coaching going on. They're just giving them information where, for example, on social media, somebody be like, oh, Barry's a dick. Well, let's be real. Let's think about this. Ask Lawrence Okoli. Ask who you want. Would I tolerate your stupidity in the gym? Would I allow you to come to the gym? I'm coaching you, and you're questioning me and talking funny stuff on, like, you know, it would never happen. Hey, have a good day. Take care. I'm pretty sure all your Thai coaches, no troll from the internet can go into your gym and start like, but what, you know, talking shit. They're gonna get the fuck. Are you serious?
Oh, that would end bad.
So it's the same. I treat online like that. Yeah. Right, exactly. No, I treat online like that. I treat online like we're still in a gym. I'm still Coach Barry. This is still a development process, and there will be respect, and we're going to do things the right way. That's the way I coach. And again, it goes back to the point earlier. If I didn't do that all these years, I would have not got better as a coach. I would have never developed as a coach. Here's another thing. Here's another one where my system is like so misunderstood. So people ask me, they'll go, hey, Barry, listen, I've been boxing a long time. I've been kickboxing a long time. Listen, I'm an advanced, intermediate. Which one of your tutorials should I get? And I'm always at a dilemma when they ask me that because I'm like, I'm going to tell them, well, you should start at the agility tutorial and work your way up. Yeah, but I'm not a beginner. And in my head, I'm going, this person hasn't really done research on my system because I posted a video of Lawrence Okoli, current European champion, walking left and right and doing push-ups without complaint. So when people ask me stuff like you know, just their thoughts, it's like I could easily be like, well, listen, you're intermediate, okay, get my blah 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 tutorial. But I don't do that. I just never do it. I never do it. I never ever do it because the second I start doing this, I believe the second I stop coaching at the level I want to coach at, not just online, but even when I go to my different, different contracts or different things like this.
Mm. But your resume kind of speaks for itself, because funny enough, before I ever heard of you, like the fighters that I studied were a lot of those fighters were like fighters you worked with, like Eddie Abasolo.
Right, cool.
I love him.
Right.
He's very fun. Jose Aldo.
Right.
I love Jose Aldo.
Right.
And then I forgot his name from Sidichai. When he was in glory, man.
Oh, that's my guy.
He
my
was a
guy
beauty
right
to
there.
watch. Yeah.
You know when I knew me and Sidichai clicked? So after our first training session together, I asked him, the English is broken. You have to have a translator. So I got somebody to ask him who's his favorite fighter. And his answer shocked the hell out of me. Who do you think he said?
Oh, I assume a tie. But, oh, no, wait. It shocked you. I don't know. Maybe Floyd Mayweather.
No, so look, it's brilliant what you said. The first thing you said, you assume a Thai. So you understand Thai culture and Thai people. He didn't say a Thai. He said like this, one word. Smiled. He looked at me, he smiled. Petrosian.
Oh.
I knew him and I was going to jail perfectly. Because first of all, for a Thai to like even acknowledge that this guy Petrosian is on that level, he's that dude. And for him to like be so like just to have that mutual, like we hit it off from that point. He's one of the few guys I've worked with in the gym where if you teach something, he's doing it in the fight. Like if you show it to him that day, many people you can show many things that afraid that they'll revert back. You teach Sidichai something, he's doing it. Coley was the same way. Hooker was the same way. Yeah, you teach them something, they're doing it. Period. It's very rare. It's like that. Very, very rare. Yeah.
Did you work with Sidichai before the Van Roosmalen fights?
I worked with Sidich. I don't know. My brain is so shot. I worked with him like most of 2014, 2015 also. Not most of 2015, but I was in Vietnam and they would fly him over there, which is unheard of. This is unheard of. That's one of my. I'm proud of that. They used to. Thais don't leave their gym, so for the manager to bring him to Vietnam to train, like it to me is the ultimate respect. But yeah, so I trained with him. But here's the thing about that, and I'll just be straight with you on this. So Tim, the manager that sits on Pinot, is my guy. It's my friend. I have a certain group of guys that I've known them a long time. Good times, bad times. Those are my friends. But Tim would never let me be in a corner or never let me go to any fights. And that, to this day, it burns me so much, because I have to tell people, okay, like, I was a part of this. Like, I was a big part of this. And it's almost like you have to hide and not that I want the credit, but it would have been nice to just be a part of those fights and be in a corner. Even if you didn't want me as lead, it would have been really, you can see I'm disappointed even now talking about it. Yeah. But yeah, it would have been nice we spent a lot of time together. I worked with him before many of his fights, but we worked for a long time to get him ready for glory. And I remember it's so painful. Like when I watch the fights even now, and I hear the announcer say, "Oh man, his boxing so much better," and God damn it, it's so annoying. Yeah, it's annoying. So, but no, Sidichai is my guy. It was really fun working at Sison Pinot. I worked with Kim Sidichai. What's the tall big kid with the knees? Dong Chai, Bank.
Oh, yeah.
Bank. And there's another one. There's a Southpaw kid who I thought they should have turned him to boxing right away. I was like, yo, Tim, this kid would be a rock star boxer. But yeah, I used to work with all those guys and it was a lot of fun. And then I used to take my guys from Bangkok Fight Lab to go get their ass kicked over there. So Tony was preparing for a fight, Tony Christodoulou. I used to take him over there, Shannon Wirichai, Musa Kanta, and they used to get fucked up, but they would have never been able to have that experience in any other thing. So when I negotiated with Tim the first time, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll work with your guys, but you have to let me bring my guys over here and get good work. And he agreed to it. And that was another thing was unheard of because most of the time you got to train, it's the Furong side and the high level side, right? Mm-hmm. So they got a chance to be a part of that. So that was really that was one of the best. Like I told you yesterday on the phone, I should have never left Bangkok the first time. Yeah.
Also, what shows how good you are as a coach is that in Thailand for some reason they like to make like a distinction between like you're either Thai or you're a foreigner, and
Yeah, yeah.
if you can come in as a foreigner and actually teach them, that's like a big pat on the back, because they don't really like that, because it's like you're not Thai, you didn't grow up in the system.
Well, one thing that works for me, and this is where I like, it's hard to teach other coaches just that want to do what I do.
Mm.
One, I have tremendous audacity, but where that audacity comes from is from film study and from the program of drilling. So it's not a thing where I go into a gym with Thais and start talking about all of these things. They don't see me, or when I work with, for example, kickboxers and Muay Thai fighters, most people think boxing. They say boxing. I know, right? And when they start seeing me doing control drills and posting and turning and different footwork drills, and the fighters checking the kick and throwing the kick and moving, you can see them in the side going, and the respect is already there. You know what I mean? And that's.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was in Phuket, right? I was in Phuket, and I was working with the kid that owns Bali MMA, Andrew. I forget his last name now, but I'm working with him, and so we're doing like some reactive mitts, just having fun at the end of a brutal session, right? And so we're doing the reactive mitts. You see some punches, and then I had been working on some sprawls and some shots with Drew. I'll send you the video later. So we did a shot. So the Thai trainer is just sitting like close to the cage, and sorry, we did a sprawl like in the reactive, like pop, 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 pop. And Andrew's such a wrestler; he's so quick. He sprawled, and the Thai trainer. and you automatically though, because I think the saying goes, real recognize real, and so I think if you're going somewhere and you have a good system of coaching and you're doing the right thing, and like I put the post on internet, I was fucking with some people, but I put the post on internet yesterday about boxing and boxing MMA. The only reason why I think I get the respect from those guys is because I spent years in a pressure cooker that's in Holland, living in Mike's gym with Giga Chikadze and Arthur Kashenko and training Murthu Groenhard and all of these guys, just Melvin Manhoef, and like spending time in those grinds, they give you the confidence to say, okay, as a young coach, especially, I belong. They also give you the confidence that as a boxing coach, you go, well, I belong. I can teach. I'm not going to teach you pure Muay Thai, but I can actually teach you boxing for kickboxing Muay Thai. And I think that Thai trainers, except for the trainers at a gym that starts with a Y, they were very difficult. My time was very difficult, but I still trained my way. But I think you have an idea what goes on. It's more of a marketing thing. But anyway, so
Yeah.
Those trainers, they would be sometimes a pain in the butt to work with, but they understood that the coaching that was on that level. But I've always, and credit to all the Thai coaches, like all the guys at Sisong Panong, all the guys at Yokkao, all the guys at my brain is anybody. Credit all those guys because they've always shown me respect, and in turn, I've always shown them respect. And I think it's hard to ignore. I go in the gym, I teach the right way. There's no like bullshit. I think people respect that.
So it's also funny that you mentioned the stories of the Thais, because in Thailand, a lot of the pad work is done in like a 50-50 position. Like there's not a lot of moving going on. Right. But as soon as I started doing your tutorials, I always had this line in my head, like, as soon as you get your ticket, you get out of the store. And so recently I was doing pads with Dead Wang. He's like a legend from the golden era. And I kicked and I started moving. And he was like, okay, good. Move more. Yeah,
because it makes sense.
Yes, right? and he loved it. And I was like, move more. And we started moving around. He was like, okay, good. And now I have a new pad man, and he's the first one that lets me switch. Like I can do both stances, and he lets me switch, and it makes me go backwards. He makes me go forward. I'm like, this stuff is easy because I've done my drills. And he's like, oh, you can. I was like, because he was surprised when he made me switch that I could go southpaw.
Right. What you just said is brilliant. It's so brilliant. You know why? Because here's what everybody could do right now. You're a tremendous student. Everybody right now, for example, could drill their feet. And when they get to their coach, you almost start inspiring the coach. Because the coach see you, like you said, I kicked, I moved to the left, and he's like, something's good.
Yeah.
Again, because it feels, they know it feels like, and then it's so funny because, like you said, you watch those guys fight and you go, man, their movement. But you know what the thing? They did that off of instinct. So what we try to do with a million styles boxing is take the instinct part out of what you're doing. Now here's a drill. You know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it, and you know how to do it, when to do it, and you could do it in check kicks. You could do it in throw punches. You could do it in, and so now it just becomes a thing where, yeah, I love to hear that you've been drilling, and then you get with your coaches, and they're excited, and like, how did you learn that? And it's like, and once they learn, I think, once they learn that, oh, okay, I can actually drill this, and also not feel like the pressure from other people, like, oh, that's not how you, because the way they people, like, I'll give you a good example. Let me give you a really good example. What's the kid's name? Singdom. So one day I'm in Yokow, right? And I think we had a debate that day with the trainers about movement. Just that you can't move. They always gave me a hard time at the beginning, right? So Singdom had a fight. So we go to this fight, and I wish I could pull it. It was like the TV station, whatever it is, that
Channel 7.
Something, I think it's Channel 7. So the whole fight, you know how he won his fight? He moved, jabbed, high kick, move, jab, high kick. It didn't matter where the high kick landed. So bro, I couldn't wait to record the fight, to download the fight, to continue this debate. So I go right to the trainers. I didn't wait. I was going to wait till the next day. I went, like, everybody's trainer. I'm like, But what's funny is I had their respect from that day, and actually have videos the next day where they're doing pad work with Singdom, and he's bop, 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 kick, bop, 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 punch, and so it just takes this. Once it's hard to ignore facts, and I think with the Thai trainers, they just need a little bit of motivation because they know how to do all that stuff. Super nice. It's just, okay, now how do I come up with a program where I can still teach you Muay Thai and still feel confident to teach you footwork and all this stuff? And that's all it is. A lot of people, what you said earlier about the military, that's how I learned how to teach. And a lot of people just don't learn how to teach. So you could be a former fighter or even a guy on YouTube or Instagram. But the only thing I have, the difference between those guys, is that I just learned how to coach from the military. And I learned the process of coaching, and which ended up being a drill for the drill, for the drill, for the drill, for the drill, and hold you accountable. That's pretty much what it is.
How did you come up with the system where you went, like, if you follow the tutorials exactly, you do 40 rounds, if I recall correctly, or 42?
Right. 40 rounds. So how did I come up with that?
Yes.
So 2015, Dan Hooker was fighting Hatsu Hayoki. And Hatsu Hayoki was supposed to fuck Dan up pretty much. You know what I mean? That's what he was supposed to do. And Dan was coming off like a brawl, and he was like, coach, I can't brawl for this fight. I really need to keep this contract. So I said to myself, I thought he was standing right in front of me, and I said, we're going to go southpaw. And the reason why I told him, I said, we need to slow down the pace, because right now you're fighting at a frantic pace, conventional. So let's slow down the pace, southpaw. It's a long hunt, big game hunting, slow, long hunt. When you strike, you're finished. So the process, how do you turn someone southpaw in 3 months? 40 rounds of drills. That's 40 rounds of drills. It just works. It works really well. That's all we did. We rarely did any pad work. Rarely. I probably was on a mitts with Dan twice that whole camp. We drilled. We drilled escapes, of course, because he's fighting the great grappler. So we drilled escapes, and then a lot of footwork. And that's how I would say that was the birth of kind of this concept of 40 rounds. And then it really hit home with working with a Coley, because again, you just have to watch the film and look at his body language from the Askin fight to the fight after that. And how did we get there? We got there by doing 40 rounds of drill every day. And we all know that in combat sports, the hardest thing to break is a bad habit. Okay, well, if you already have bad habits, then, and here's the process of 40 rounds. So remember, in 40 rounds, it's not just the exercises. It's, are you gonna fly away mentally round 7, round 13, round 14? This is the ultimate way to condition a mind for what you're going to be doing in combat sports. which is having to think under pressure, having to compute, having to have your girlfriend pop in your head, but still be able to multitask. These are the things you have to do. So that's why for me, and don't get me wrong, obviously you're not going to do 40 rounds of drills 6 days a week for a year. You might take, but for people that are looking to improve their technique, so I guess maybe I should say this somewhere. You don't have 6 months to, especially if you're a current fighter, current coach, you don't have 6 months to change your system or fix your fights are coming up. You got to do it quick. 3 months. You know how you do it? 40 rounds of drills. And that's proven, like I said, with two different ways.
Do you still follow the fighters that you coached back in
Wow,
the day?
yeah. Wow, we getting into tough questions. It's good. I like it. Some fighters I do follow, some I don't. So yeah. Oh, let's just dig into this. Fuck it. Let's get it all out in the air. So look, I'm a sensitive person because I believe that, like, when I coach, I give people everything I got. Everything I got. Every ounce of me. Like, I neglect family, girls. I'm ingratiated into coaching. That's just a fact. And that's not their fault. I do that because I care about my work, one, and I care about them. So a lot of times, like, and Tony, trust me, and I'm being very real with you. I'm being very transparent. Tony Christodoulou, this is my good friend. If I'm fucking up or if I did something that was like emotional, he'll tell me, like, Barry, you could have fucking just played it this way, this, that, and the third, da, da, da. So yeah, I follow some of the guys I used to work with, but there's a love-hate relationship because it's like, when you work with somebody, for me, all the guys I work with, they're like my family members. They're like my little brothers, or like, even some of the older coaches. Like, these are all, these guys are my family. And sometimes with family, there's disagreements, right? But I don't hate or love them any less. But if I tried to, like, apologize to a guy, even if I don't really need to apologize, but I try to apologize to a guy and move forward because I'm trying to be an adult, and they don't want to, like, connect, like, as far as like social media, things like this, then that's fine. But now I get into specifics. I won't be so broad because these things have never been spoken about, and people always say many, many things about me. So, for example, let's take Dan Hooker, right? Dan Hooker, I love the kid. I met Dan Hooker, Phuket top team, 2000, whatever year I was in Phuket top team. That was, I don't know, 2012, whatever it was. I don't know, 2013. And he used to train at Tiger primarily, but he used to come to a Phuket top team for my boxing classes. A lot of people did. It was like my boxing class was super lit in Phuket. So he would always be first on runs, like, because I would take them to the hills and run. He'd always be first. He was one of the hardest working people. Not the most naturally talented kid, not the most athletic, hard working. He's always going to be first. So blah, blah, blah. So I had a relationship with him at that point. So at that time, Israel Adesanya, Dan, all those guys study all my stuff on YouTube, like all my film studies. Like, I consider the guys in New Zealand, including Coach Eugene. If you watch this, Coach Eugene, great work, tremendous. But I consider these guys my students because they were like my original OG YouTube crew, and especially when Dan would come train in Phuket, and I'm speaking Instagram with Israel Adesanya or whatever social media was out at that time. So anyway, fast forward to 2015, I got an opportunity to be head coach at Saigon Sports Club, and with that deal, they gave me an opportunity to build a fight team. Most incredible, like a dream, like, for me to be like, when I play basketball on NBA, I don't play. I do the GM mode, and I'm putting teams together and strategies. So this is like, I've been waiting for a moment like this for a long time. So anyway, so they give me the keys to the car. They let me do my thing. And the very first guy I called, because you always got to have a team leader in a sense. The first guy I called was Dan Hooker because of his work ethic, his runs. And Dan at the time needed, something. So he agreed to come, and with all the other guys I brought there. And towards the end of my time at Saigon Sports Club, Dan and I want to fight together. And we really loved working together. There was like, we loved each other. I sat down with him hours and hours and hours with film study. He's just the hardest working kid. So after I left Saigon Sports Club, I had a fight. Well, one of my students had a fight in South Africa. So I'm preparing him for this fight. And what was the expectation was that I was going to go stop home in Norway. I lived in Norway at the time. My ex-wife, and obviously my family and stuff. And then I'd go to New Zealand and coach full time.
Mm.
Hooker, because Hooker was going to leave SSC. So Hooker, all of the guys at that gym, the city kickboxing gym. That's what I was supposed to do. And also with my guy Vasco in New Zealand in North Shore, his gym Redline. So I'd be working with both those guys. And so I get to Norway, and I kind of had I had a tough few months. Like, let's put it like that. I had a tough few months. I had a lot of things on my head. My father just passed away. It was May 2015. My father passed. And like, I had so much on my mind. And I get home to Norway, and I didn't go back to New Zealand. And so from there, those guys hated my guts. Hated my guts. Because I guess he expected me to go back there and coach him, whatever. So, but this is where the beef, for me, where the beef came. This is for me where the beef came. So, and I'm being this is exclusive. Nobody's ever heard this from my mouth because everybody talks. So, in Saigon Sports Club, I poured my heart into that team. My life, my soul, everything I had. We won fights. You cannot tell me a gym in Asia comes on the scene and in 3 months, 1 FC wins, a UFC win. This doesn't happen. You don't put a team together that quick and you just don't do that. And so it came to a point where I was a little bit unhappy, and so I didn't go back. I was supposed to coach those guys, and at SSC I spent a lot of time film studying the guys, a lot of time in the film room, a lot of time lecturing, a lot of time coaching, and with Dan Hooker specifically, I opened my Bible. I have a Bible, a book I used to have back in the day, and I used to take him through the Bible, like what I call it the Bible, and everything I've ever learned, I sat down with Dan, taught him. Like he was the guy that would show the effort. So the extra stuff, I definitely did with Dan, and he was very receptive to it. So then after I didn't go to New Zealand, a few things happened. So there was a kid from YouTube that I asked the owners of SSC, hey, can I bring this guy in as my assistant boxer coach? I don't have to do that, bro. Come on, bro. Please understand, like, anybody that says anything negative about me or something like this, they are tripping. I help all my friends. I'm a networker, things like this. So anyway, I bring this kid from YouTube that used to study my video. I vouch for him. I bring him down. Boom, boom. He's supposed to learn under me. At some point, for some reason, this kid, whatever his name is, he starts hating me because I coach him really hard. And he's acting like a biatch. I'm sorry. I love him, Saeed. But he's coaching now. He's doing his thing. Yeah. And I didn't go to New Zealand. I realized, okay, Dan's opened a gym. No, before he opened the gym, if you notice during this period on Facebook, Dan started making these film studies, right? And so there's a thing that I have, like, for me. If you sit next to me for 6, 7 months and you think you have an idea, you're like, Barry, you could do things better this way, or you have a skill. Let's say you have a skill that I don't have. So, for example, Dan and his peoples, they're marketing experts. Now, when Dan came to SSC, he had holes in his shoes. Nothing wrong with that. You're a fighter. You're working your way up. So, and I gave this kid everything. I taught him everything I knew. So when I didn't come to New Zealand, he decided that he was going to make a film study channel. He knew I made film studies, things like this, but he never once came to me and said, yo, Barry, thanks for teaching me this, blah, 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 blah. Would you like to get on with me? We're friends. Would you like to do this channel with me? Or like, I could really, or the whole time you're learning from me at SSC, you knew about marketing, all this stuff. You could have came to me as a friend and be like, yo, actually, we could do it this way. But you decided to be with me this entire time. I said, okay, look, guys, I'm not coming to New Zealand. I'm staying here. And then all of a sudden it's boom. I'm taking everything I learned from Barry and I'm going to now use this for sales. And this pissed me off. It pissed me off so bad because, and the reason why it upset me was because I got more disappointed in human beings. Like, I feel like people are so phony that they could be next to you, know that you could use help in the area, not help you, try to learn everything you learn and then use it. For me, I was very annoyed with Dan. And so I sat back and I said, okay, this is what we're doing. And then he hires this kid, Saeed, to be his boxing coach, and he's lifting him up. Like I got Saeed now. So I'll tell you the significance of this. So at some point, some people, they think that if they train with me or watch a few of my film studies, that they know me better than I know myself, and we've got Barry's system down. So that was the energy. That was the energy that Dan was bringing Saeed in, and so Dan and Saeed was having their first fight together, UFC fight against Jason Knight, and I did something very bad. I wanted revenge because this is how I used to think. I said, okay, you're going to take my stuff, so I wanted revenge. So what I did was, I got in touch with Jason Knight and his peoples, and I told them exactly how to beat Dan. And Dan lost to Jason Knight. But for me, it was I didn't want to just beat Dan. I wanted to beat Saeed also. And so when I look back, it was very evil. It was not a nice thing to do. But I also think that what he did was not a nice thing to do. So I've apologized to Dan since then. I've apologized. I've sent him messages. I've said, look, I've explained why I was upset, why I did the things I did. And in my opinion, I forgive them. I completely forgive them for like the whole stuff. But right now, for example, certain people, I love these guys like a brother, but it would be nice if they said, look, we learned a lot from Coach Barry, and he deserves that we say that. Like, I'm not responsible. Israel Adesanya was going to be a rock star regardless, but Israel Adesanya should step up and say, you know what? This guy really helped me early in my career watching his film studies. When Dan came here with the system, it really helped me to understand controls and certain people won't do that in this industry for whatever reason. Maybe he's upset or maybe he's stubborn. I always joke, call him Clint Eastwood. But that's what it is. That was what it was. That was exactly what the situation, What can you do? What can you do?
Do you assume that it's like because people see as competition? Because before we hopped on Skype to record this, I always wondered if I was going to tell you this story. But like the first time I ever heard your name was by a guy who worked with you, but in the same line, he was like, I worked with Barry Robinson, but I didn't like him. And technically, I'm not going to mention his name.
What was his reason? No, you don't have to name his name. But what was his reasoning? Let's hear his reasoning.
He never said his reasoning for it, but he didn't like you. Yeah, and I was like, that's a weird thing to say, because to me back then it was like, if you work with somebody and they give you something that is valuable for you, you will mention their name. But then to immediately add, I didn't like him, it's like, to me that was a weird thing. So that got me curious. Like, who is this?
Right. Yeah, look. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh. And then the second time I heard of you was because Coach Mike Abia on Instagram, he mentioned the no-fly zone. And I was like, what the hell is a no-fly zone? And that's how I got to your Instagram.
Right. No, look. Okay, let's elephant in the room. Why do a lot of people don't like me? Can't manipulate me, can't buy me. I'm not for purchase. You can't sell me with money. You can't sell me with fake friendships. I don't fraternize with my students. I don't go out with my students. I don't hang out with them. I don't go drink with them. I don't party with them. I think it's a big no-no because I have to coach them. I coach everybody hard. I put people in push-up position. Some people don't like the way I coach. I'm very sure of what I say. Like, I don't go like, I think I know this. I say it in a way like, hey guys, I mean, you see my delivery. Like, I'm very confident in my approach. Some people don't like that. It rubs some people the wrong way. I can't control that. I cannot control who likes me. First of all, it's an idiotic statement to say, I don't like Coach Barry. All I'm doing is teaching. Like, if you look at, okay, what have I done for 13 years? I've helped the combat sports community for free. I started selling something 3 or 4 years ago. So I was actually thinking about this yesterday. Anybody that says I'm a bad guy, this is the stupidest thing ever. I'm the most selfless professional coach in combat sports. That's my opinion. So if someone that doesn't like me, that's a personal problem with them. That has nothing to do with me per se. But going back to your question about, like, as far as talking to fighters, so I think Dan was one that, like, like is a bit disappointed because we were really this close, like really
Mm-hmm.
like great student teacher relationship, and I know Dan like the back of my hand. Um, Nick Freese, I've known a long time. Lord knows we've had their family. You know, Nick Freese's family, his father's family, and we've had our debates. You know, of course, that's normal, but we're friends. But it's me. Normally, if I'm not talking to somebody, it starts with me. Like
Mm.
I didn't process information quite well for a long time, so I had no problem blocking people. That's all. That's all on me. So when I don't
Mm.
like something, I don't say anything. I don't say anything. I don't say anything. And then one day I just say, "Fuck this, I'm done." And
Mm.
that's the decision's been made because I have this expectation that people will do the right thing. People will do
Mm.
the right thing. People will do the right thing. You know, it's the same thing going back with you know, I had to repair my relationship with Lawrence Okoli because I just left that team. I was so frustrated dealing with his management and things like this that it came to a point where, and even Tony said to me, you know, Tony said, look, Barry, you know, some things you could have accepted to get to the
Mm.
bigger picture. And that's not how I dealt with things. I dealt with like, oh, I've done all this sacrificing. I've coached my ass off. I've shown my worth. Where's the payoff?
Mm.
When am I going to be endorsed? And when that doesn't happen, I usually go, okay, I'm not valued here. Fuck this. That's
Mm.
kind of my approach to it. It's not very diplomatic. It's just okay, take care, everybody. Like I just, yeah. So maybe that's not, you know, I'm not saying that's the best thing, my approach, but that's the reason if I have issues with people in the past, it's been something like that, me leaving or me not sticking around or something like
Mm.
that. Yeah.
But if you look at like Lawrence Ducoli is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, he mentioned you recently. I think you shared it.
Which shocked me. It shocked me because
Okay.
during our whole time together, he rarely mentioned my name once. So,
Okay.
yeah. No, but look, I'm like me and Lawrence are cool. Like I did their scouting reports for his last fight. Obviously I don't like his trainer, Shane McGuigan. I don't really like the guy. Not because he replaced me. Like I said, I left the team. But I don't like
Mm.
Shane just because I think yeah, no, look. Sorry. Shane might see this one day. Look, Shane, it's a competitive thing. I like you, but I don't. My job is to not like you because I want to beat your system. Like
Mm.
I want to beat your ass. So unfortunately, any coach that's supposed to be top level, I'm coming for your neck in the most
Mm.
friendly way. We're gonna shake hands during and after. Well, during competition, after competition, that's it. But I'm very competitive. So like, yeah, Shane McGuigan, he's a good dude. But one day I'm gonna come see his system, and if all they got to offer is a right hook or a left hook, depending on what stance the guy's in, he's gonna have some problems. You heard that exclusive. That's hey Shane. No, but look, now I'm at a different place in life. So if we fast forward, that's all the drama, right? But
Mm.
I would say the last year and a half, 2 years of my life, I really started to understand things a little bit different, understand myself, understand people, and um, and I'm in a much better place as far as like, and of course it helps to work online because now I don't have to like nobody can tell me shit or controls me or anything like that, you know. But but forgiveness is something I need to work on for myself, and I've just forgiven a lot of stuff. You know,
Mm.
not saying I'm an angel. I've had to survive like everybody else, but for forgiveness for me and not really caring about like past dramas was big for me. So that's where I'm at in my life right now, and I would love to work with Dan someday or Israel someday because you know actually maybe I should say this also, guys. Why are you taking shortcuts in my system? Okay, I'm finished. Now, look, they need some help. They need some help. You know, you can't just watch from afar, guys. You need direct help. You just got to ask me. You don't got to ask me. Don't stalk me. You know, I don't stalk me on social media. Just ask me. Okay, that was my message.
To be fair,
You
I
know what's so
always.
funny? You know what's funny? You know how many people follow me like famous fighters, coaches, and they don't like one of my posts, but in every story I post, I know who's watching my stories.
Yeah, you
Those
can
guys,
see
they
it. Yeah.
never like anything, never send a message. They're just stalkers. I think it's so funny. It's interesting to me. But like you said, many people are scared to approach me or scared to, and I don't know why. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did. What do you think I'm doing wrong? Tell me.
Oh no, I think you're doing it right.
Okay.
This is what I like about you. Well, first of all, you make people think. Like sometimes you post something on Instagram and like, for example, when you ask like how could Adesanya or what does Blachowicz has to do when he's fighting Adesanya, and that's like you don't give it to people and you make them think and you keep asking questions. So that's something I really like. You're like, because the answer doesn't pop in your head right away. You have to be like, okay, how do I deal with this?
Right.
So I think a lot of people are scared by that because maybe they're afraid to say something stupid. Like even you did Q&A once on your story, and I asked a question, and after I was like, ooh, Barry is gonna think this is a dumb question. So,
Yeah.
but I'm not afraid to ask it. I'm like, maybe I make a fool out of myself, but I better ask the question and have like an answer like, this is not the best question. I'm like, okay, it's part of it. And maybe another thing, but I think, in my opinion, this is right as well. You're very straightforward, but that's what I like about you. And I think a lot of people don't like that.
Now, see, now this is a crazy. This is not even like a professional thing. This is also a personal thing. So let's say even with dating, bro. Like,
Mm.
you know how many times I've heard I'm too honest? It's like, do you
Mm.
want me to lie? I don't understand. Baby, baby, baby. What did you like? Is that what I like? No, seriously. This I get told this all the time.
Uh-huh.
I'm intimidated, or like, wow, you can't even like smooth talk. And it's like, no, why should I misrepresent myself? And see, that's why I joke. I joke. I'm serious, but it's half joke. So when I say stuff like the book, How to Win Friends and Manipulate People, like
Mm.
I've read the book. I just feel like for me, it's just no way to live because I have to like wear hats. Like I don't want to wear 50 different hats. I want to be one
Mm.
person all the time. I want to keep my sanity. And so like, yeah, I think it's easier for me to just be honest. And I just don't want to lie to people. I just don't see the value in it. I don't see the value in being dishonest in terms
Mm.
of how you feel, what you're thinking. Uh, and I think that's where creativity comes from. That's where passion comes from. That's where, yeah, most of the people that did something great, you watch the movie Amadeus, great movie. The guy was out of his mind, but he
Mm.
made some of the most brilliant music in the history of the world. It's like the old what's his name? The artist, not Da Vinci, Picasso. He didn't say. He said, "Give me a room and I'll fill it." He didn't
Mm.
say like, "Oh, guys, I'm kind of okay at art. You shouldn't be
Mm.
intimidated by." He said, "Give me a fucking room
Mm.
and I'm filling it with masterpieces." Unfortunately, what people have to understand, and people that don't like me, is unfortunately, I'm sorry, these are the people I study.
Mm.
I don't study people that say, keep your mouth shut. Don't. Everybody I study is confident. They're successful. It doesn't
Mm.
matter what field they're in. And I don't know. I think I'm not saying I'm them, but I would rather trend in that direction than kind of just participate, if that makes any sense.
Mm. Yeah. Maybe I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe from like well, the marketing perspective, like I said, you make people think, but also like if you wanna answer any of your questions on Instagram, you have to like study your system, study your tutorials, because there's like a lot to it. So you have to spend a lot of hours like studying tape and
But now
re.
see, right. So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing about what you just said. And this is where people miss out online, the process. So online, I'm saying this to them, right? But what they don't
Mm.
realize is in a fight camp, I'm giving grown man Lawrence homework. And if he doesn't
Mm.
have it done by a deadline, the next day he's doing push-ups.
Mm.
That's the way I coach. He will tell you. That's the way I coach. Dan will tell you this. That's the way I coach. And we don't do this to hurt the fighter. We do this so they can learn. I have to ask you tough questions. I have to give the fighter a film study, not that I made, and ask him, listen, in round 3, why did the left hook land? And the
Mm.
answer, when I ask a question, and my good buddy Lemmy knows this, if I message somebody to ask them, I do pop quizzes with all my friends.
Mm.
It's a trick answer. But the goal is to make you think, right?
Mm.
And of course, I always give my close people the answers, but the goal is to make them think. And this is how we create better athletes and better coaches, is by making people think, not the opposite. Not the opposite.
Mm.
So on my social media, I love it because I challenge people from my heart says I want the sport to get better,
Mm.
like the combat sports to get better. And unfortunately, I can't do it by what the current status quo is. Like I mentioned earlier, the video, thumbnail,
Mm.
this technique. That's not how I challenge. Unfortunately, I have to be controversial to challenge people. I have to be, and what people call controversial is just me saying something different than what somebody else is saying. Oh, he's saying disengagement. Well, you need to disengage. Show me one. First of all, in the military, they move the tank. I mean, I read a whole passage in the military. They move the tank into position. The tank fires. Then the tank moves out of position. That's the process of tanks. So if the tank is taking military shells and RPGs and all this stuff, like you as a human being, don't you think in a fight you should be doing the same thing? You know, so it's not like I'm saying something that's like, even with the combo of the day, actually I enjoy pissing people off with the combo of the day, and I've actually pissed off some of my colleagues. But the bottom line is just, I've taught many seminars all over the world. I've seen many people teach seminars. I've seen famous coaches walk into gyms, teach seminars, and they're teaching a guy to combo, but these people, their feet are not even stable to do the combo. So there's nothing wrong with training combinations, but I just feel like it's a massive oversight. Like, it's a massive oversight. Like, yeah, so that's just and this upsets people. This upsets people. So I cannot feel bad about that. You know, I'm like, oh, Barry's a bad guy. He upset the apple cart. Okay, I guess, you know. But the beautiful thing about me, and the reason why I don't care, is because it's just hard to debate with my resume. And then if you want to debate my resume, okay, no problem. Debate with the film now. Because everything I do with film. And people really hate this. The people that really dislike me, I hate to bring them up again, but they hate it because they can't even, like, you're wrong. They can't even, for example, I'm a little bit of a dick too. So my marketing, as you know, I'm lying when I say it's not high level. I just use a lot of reverse psychology. So yesterday, for example, I made that post right after I put a Giga Chikadze video up of him doing boxing for MMA training, you know? So the people that hate me, or some people were very upset with me. You never, he did, fuck. You don't know, is that Jose Aldo? Oh, okay, shit, I can't even argue with this guy. So yeah, that's one of my, and I'll tell the people that I need to get better at that. I need to debate more fair, where we can have a back and forth. But I choose, like, my debating style is the finisher. Like, and that's not, I've read the book Socially. That's not fun. Like, it's not fun for people because people like the process of, like, going back and forth. But my whole mindset is finish him. Yeah.
That's how you bring up how do you call it again? Cognitive dissonance.
Right.
Yeah. But I go, no, not true.
Right. Exactly. No, but but this has development. It has development implications because now we're getting to the facts. You know, we're trimming the fat instead of, you know, we're really trimming the fat, and that's really the aim, is just to trim the fat and win. That's really it. That's the aim, to win. You know, I always wish, you know, I think I became kind of arrogant. I was already, like, very confident, but I became arrogant after the Tyson Fury camp. Like, this camp made me, like, if I was confident before that, this camp is the current person why I'm such an animal now. Maybe some people don't like me because, man, I went in that camp, you know, and you have to remember I take so much time off in between training people. So I'm supposed to be rusty. I'm supposed to come in, like, you know, like, but I came in so sharp, man, and just and Lawrence was such a great student and listened. And even though we didn't have much drill time at camp, this was like, and then to see Tyson Fury, like, take some of the things he saw and use them in a fight, like, for me is the ultimate compliment. Like, you know, even like Ben Davison, you know, telling, you know, beat Billy Joe Saunders in a fight, watch out for the rhythm step, or respect that man. Yeah, I'm mad because you don't give me no credit. You're on national TV every day. I'm pissed at Ben Davison. But in the same token, I know in my mind, and Ben Davison knows in his mind, that I own him. I'm his father. In the sense of, I schooled him all camp. That's what I mean. Not like just like, I had a great influence on him. Even when Freddie Roach was in the corner, there was nothing really much they could do. And for me, that took my self-confidence and the confidence in the system to a whole, like, nobody can tell me nothing. Tyson Fury's fucking 6'9". They brought Lawrence there to get beat up as a cruiserweight. Like, he'd be the finishing sparring partner. So you had 3 heavyweights and then you finish off fucking Lawrence up, right? Because they brought him in because they thought he was stiff. And we went there, had such a great camp, man. And to control the Gypsy King, to control the Gypsy King. For anything Freddie Roach saying not to matter, Ben Davison, this for me is the highlight of my career. Like, yes, I might want to win a championship one day, or teach a kid by myself. But for that right there, that particular thing, like, eat more than any fights that I've ever had, more than any underdog win, more than beating the Gracies, that proved to me that this system is an animal, and we can outclass anybody at any time. I just need a student that's willing to do things the right way. And I'm not going to coach anybody in the gym until I work again with the student that's willing to do things the right way. And that's because I know what the potential is of the system now. And that's just, yeah. Mixed martial arts are much harder. When I talk shit about mixed martial arts, like if I go, I'm going to win, let me tell you, in the back of my head, there's an asterisk, because it's just so many weapons, bro. You can, every time you train, like when I prepare a guy for a mixed martial arts fight, every day I go home, I'm nervous. Oh, did we get enough kicks catch today? Did we sprawl enough? It's nerve-wracking, bro. It's nerve-wracking. But boxing, it's just hands. I'm so confident. Like, it's just hands. And if I say it to boxing guys today, they'll be like, no, it's just hands. You two hands. This is very easy. MMA is a whole different animal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a complex sport. But that's the beauty of the sport, in my opinion.
Right. No, it is. Which for MMA, it becomes a situation where if you look at the best fighters, that's why I love like the Chissia versus Magny fight, for example. They were talking about how much Magny's been striking and he's working with this striking coach and it's getting better. And yeah, what did that mean to them? That meant he was throwing some strikes, right? And Chissia was just disengagement, movement, picking his spots. And high level fighting now, you don't got to take my word for it. It doesn't matter. Boxing, Floyd Mayweather's whole career was controlling the clock, disengagement. Canelo has a good disengagement game when he has to use it. Chissia versus Magny, Holloway versus Volkanovski. The list is Derek Lewis versus the guy he just knocked out when he was in big man game and he just stood there and waited.
I know.
When I asked the Adesanya question, right, I did it for a couple of reasons. One, I was being a little bit of a dick, and then two, I was also jogging the people's brain. So, and the reason why I was being a dick, I'll say, is because whenever I see everybody like being a groupie, I say I want to do the opposite thing. So everybody's Adesanya's gonna kill him. So I'm like, well, is there a way to beat him? Because like let's say I got a call, and that's actually I'll submit this. If I got a call today from a team that was going to fight Adesanya, you best to believe I'm going in there prepared. You better believe it. But I'm not going in there prepared if I just go, he's the greatest. You saw that knockout? How am I going to develop somebody to beat the guy? Am I going to tell that to a fighter? Hey, listen, we're in a fight with Adesanya, bro. Let's just do cardio and pray for the best. Okay. No, I have to find a way. I have to find positions that we can take advantage of. That's what you have to do. So my question during that time was, just because I was hearing so much idol worship, I was like, well, is there a way? Like, is there a way? Is there something? And obviously I have a game plan for Adesanya. Anybody that's a really good fighter, I have a game plan for already, right now, to this day. They don't know that. So when I walk in gyms, and I've always wanted to be this way. So back in the day, God bless, rest in peace, Coach Rick. But we kind of came up on the same time on YouTube. And I used to argue with Coach Rick all the time, like, bro, it's not just pad work. Like, you got to work on your coaching skills, because you don't want to get to a camp and then you get kicked out of a camp. And I remember him going he got an invite because he became really famous on his YouTube, and he got an invite to go to Amir Khan's camp. But when he got there, Virgil Hunter seen him, great coach, and he realized this guy's just bringing no value to the table, and they sent him home. And I never wanted that to happen to me. I never wanted to go somewhere, be this internet coach. I get there, people say, "Oh, the fuck, this guy can't coach worth shit." So I've always studied my ass off, always prepare myself. Even when I have this time off per se, I'm in the lab studying. I watch 200-300 fights a week. I'm studying basketball things, interviews. Like, I study relentlessly. So by the time I get to a camp, it doesn't matter which camp it is, I'm always so prepared. So as much as I talk shit about the Fury camp, what they don't know is I have film studies on Tyson Fury from 2012 that I made. 2012, 2013, 2014. So when I got to camp, I knew Fury. I knew him. I knew exactly what I wanted to do to Fury. And that's just how I am with studying. I think, again, that comes from not idol worship, challenging people, asking questions, asking the tough questions. coming back to Adesanya, when I asked that question, it was such a great question because there is a way to beat him with positions. The same fight that everybody called the most boring fight ever, well, actually, Romero did some genius things in that fight to the point where Adesanya didn't even want to throw a strike. But everybody just said, oh, it was, okay, what did he do? Think game, stand still and look at him. Okay, move, start doing this, just buying time. So when I asked, by that time, when I asked, it also goes to show you, I'm sorry, it goes to show you the level. Like you go back, you look at the comments. I've put those photos in the archive by now. When you go back and look at the comments, I was being a dick on all of those question posts because I wanted to see the IQ and what people were talking about when it comes to combat sport. I wanted to hear it from fighters. I wanted to hear from coaches. And as we saw, unfortunately, our sport is in a bad place. It's either idol worship. There's nothing you could do. That's Adesanya. There's nothing. Wow. That's current, that's the way we think about sport. So yeah, I don't know if that makes me a controversial person, then because what can you do about that, really?
Yeah. Well, I assume if you're a fighter, you'd rather have a coach in your corner or in your team that says like, I know how to beat this guy and have a system, than a coach who says you're fighting this guy and we can't beat him.
Look, the facial expression when the manager calls, yeah, we got Adesanya. Who? Who? You sure? Now shoulder's injured. And the fighter's like, yeah, coach, I got him. No, son, you don't have him. No, like seriously, like, what are you gonna do? Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And like, yeah, I'm the complete opposite. Like, I feel like if I got 3 fights of a guy to watch, that's 3 fights too many, because I'm gonna find. And this, okay, so the perspective I'm coming from, you have to remember, like I said, I've won underdog fights, right? So what it takes to win underdog fights is you have to be in good positions more often than not. Simple. Now, obviously, you can start talking about base and drills and things like that, which are very important. But the fundamental principle is to beat a guy that's better than you, to win a short notice fight, you have to have the humility to be in better positions than the other guy. So what that means is now I got to take a look at the film and I got to say, okay, does this guy rhythm step? He's a killer. He hits hard. If I get a girl that's fighting Amanda Nunes, right? We're fighting Nunes. I know Nunes rhythm steps before she power strikes. That's our one way to possibly, not to hit her, but to even be able to improve our defense. Even if we're just disengaging and waiting for the perfect strike. Okay, but that's the position we want to be in with her. We don't want to be in a 50-50. So, like, to me, this is the way I like to look at preparation and look at people. Like, if a coach, take like a coach's system. Like, let's say, for example, which coach was I just check out? Okay, I'll give you an example. This is how I think. So what's Justin Gaethje's coach? Trevor Whitman, right? I have a lot of respect for Trevor Whitman, good coach, right? But you better believe every fight he's in a corner, I'm studying what his system is, what he likes. And so when I look at Trevor Whitman, here's my assessment. Great coach, tremendous coach. But he don't have a drill system in terms of footwork and stuff. He teaches great stuff. But Justin Gaethje started doing some good work, but it was inefficient, and I could tell, not that it was bad, it was good. He won fights. I love Justin Gaethje. I love Trevor Whitman. But I saw some inefficiencies in the system where I say to myself, you know what, it would be an honor to go up against Trevor Whitman one day, which is the ultimate respect to him. Because I look at a lot of coaches and I don't fucking think about them or say their name, but there are some coaches that I look at the system and I go, oh, that's a challenge. I would love to go up against them someday. And so I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's good, because then you start asking these tough questions and trying to figure out not what are ways to beat the guy, but what are ways of development to train, to prepare to do these things in a fight. And that's fun. That to me is the most ultimate fun in combat sports, is, as from a coaching perspective, is trying to figure out how to beat people.
But that would also elevate the sport, because say you compete against Whitman and you beat him, maybe he's like, oh, what just happened? And that's the competition.
Exactly.
But people hate competition.
Exactly. Yeah. It's because the whole friendly, again, all of these things that how to win friends and influence people, they're supposed to be great things, But to me, it's just created a bunch of people that are afraid to be honest. And now I'm sorry, I'm going to segue to something that's sad because we talk about mental health, right? We live in a world nowadays where so many mental health problems. And I read the New York Post every day. It's a terrible newspaper, but every day it's a terrible newspaper, horrible. But every day, father kills kids himself, mother kills kids himself, boyfriend kills girl. Why? Because people are not being honest with themselves. People are so phony, lying so much that they don't even know who they are. And some people, the weak people, and this is what's so sad about the world. The world is forcing everybody to be this way. That the weak people, the people that are actually weak, those are the people that are taking their lives. All because they tried to do this perfect society thing, this thing that's supposed to be the go-to package to live your life. And that really upsets me. Like anybody that complains about how I am, I believe I'm free. My opinion is I'm free. I'm a free individual. And I have my life, I have my mental health. I cry, I laugh, I have fun, I get angry, and I'm a real emotions. And people will know, oh, Barry's angry. I will tell them, hey, I don't want to mess with you. And I feel good because I take care of myself. And so I feel like with mental health in the world, I don't like the way society goes, or even like, we relate it to social media where everybody must say the same thing because now nobody's developing.
It's true.
So it's a broader problem with society, but it trickles down into every other aspect of life, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's an interesting take. Like when I was younger, around 21, I suffered from like mental health issues as well. But when I look back on it, it was like it was basically me, for example, never being able to say no. That was like just one part of it, but like that was huge. When I learned how to say no, that changed a lot.
Right. Yeah. Two things I learned recently. The saying no, which I'm actually quite good at, but then also I want. Because when you start saying I want, it comes back to linguistics. What do you really want? Do you really want a girlfriend? Do you really, what do you actually want? Or are you compromising? What are you compromising about? So it's I want is an important statement. It sounds like narcissism, I guess, but I want is such an important statement because now you get to eliminate a lot of the hurt that comes with doing stuff that you don't want to do per se. So that's my opinion on the subject. I think it's terrible. I think the world is not I think the world is a terrible place, but for me it's not fun to be a part of. One of my favorite quotes is business is conflict, that's the creative process. You don't get excellence by saying yes, you don't get excellence. And I've posted this quote probably 2,000 times in my life on social media. But if you look at that quote, the reason why I love that quote so much, business is conflict. And then the second part of that, that's the creative process. So we're not going to create. We're not going to innovate. We're not going to have new ideas agreeing with each other all day because we're scared to say something different because I need your social interaction as a human being. Then you continue with that quote, business is conflict, that's the creative process. You don't get excellence by saying yes. You get love, but you don't get excellence. So people would like me more per se if I was a lovable person. But I want excellence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's part for me, my dilemma. And I don't mind the conflict. I want to have a debate. I want to be challenged. I want to challenge people because that's how we're going to get better. So I don't think it's such a bad thing, but I guess, like I said, the current structure of the social format in the world, it's a terrible thing, I guess.
But these days, when you, I wouldn't say argue, when you debate with people, it might hurt their feelings. So you have to watch out here these days.
Yeah, no, but see, that's why I'm so happy about my. I have to be honest. I'm so happy about my social media because I'm probably one of the only people that do things the way I want to do them. I make the posts I want to make. I use the language. I curse. I type out fucking and shit on my channel. And the reason why I say it's good and I'm excited about it because I didn't have to conform to the people. The people had to conform to me. And I get more messages of people saying, "Hey, Coach Barry, thanks for your message. I like the way you do things." That I don't get. Then people that are like angry or upset with me about something. And I had to accept that because I used to focus on the people that were, the minority. And so I had to really just accept the love from the majority. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Recently, yesterday, yeah, when we were on the phone, you mentioned that you were gonna film some new tutorials. I'm giving away some stuff here. Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, no, there's some really cool things coming. I don't
Mm.
want to. Okay, so when you edit this, you have to edit this in a way because I'm going to give you an exclusive, but you're not, the world can't hear the exclusive. So
All
yes,
right,
I'm.
you give me the exclusive after because I'm not good enough to edit this. Like this is gonna be
Okay,
flowing thing.
perfect. Yeah, so no, so yeah, I have some something really like the coolest thing ever happened, and I think it happened because I stopped caring about success and I started taking care of myself. And I think that's the way like the universe works. And so something I've always wanted, like I always want to do high level stuff within combat sports. Like I want to work with scientists. I have a whole analytics system. I've been searching for scientists for 3 years now, so we can upgrade the statistical data within combat sports and make it more relative. There's so many things I want to do, and I think that right now is a really good time because I took care of myself, took care of my mental health, figured out myself, how I feel, what I want, stopped caring about success, stopped running after it and stressing. And a lot of cool things are happening now. So I hope with the new tutorials, um, my partner and I that are writing the book, um, I think we came up with a really good concept for the direction we want to go in relation to what's in the book. And I'm really excited right now. Like I really get to present my system in a way that's never been presented before on a university level. And
Hmm.
I'm just really excited about it. And I'm really excited about these tutorials coming up and the partnership. And I can't wait.
Sounds like interesting. Well, you
It's
didn't
huge,
give away. It's huge,
huge, yeah, huge.
huge. You also said tutorials, so that sounds
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. We'll see. Yeah, God willing, So in
Yeah.
May, I have to go do some filming and stuff, and we'll just see what happens from there. Yeah.
And then you also have a book coming up, so you have quite some exciting projects coming up.
Very excited about the book. Very, 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 very. So one, it's exciting to be an author. Like that's why I told you congratulations yesterday when you mentioned to me about your book. I think it's huge. I think for a human being to have a skill and then put it in a book or whatever. Where I think it's to me, especially I'm a kid. I'm sorry, I don't mean to give you the whole I'm a kid from the Bronx. All this, yeah, but I am a kid from the Bronx.
Yeah.
I grew up in group homes, all of this shit. And so to imagine that one day I could be an author of a book about
Mm.
my system that I built,
Mm-hmm.
and to do the book in a way where there's going to be case studies and film studies and and just the way it's broken down, I'm just so excited about it. It takes AMSB to like a university. It's like this is like a university's education book. It's not complicated because I don't want to give away the whole premise of the book, but it's coming from a perspective that it's coming from my system, but from a perspective that everybody else can understand. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a little bit of comedy in it, but there's case studies for everything. It's the
Mm.
first book of its kind in combat sports. Most books just tell you this, that, and a third and write some pictures. This
Yeah.
is the first ever book of its kind in combat sports, and I think it's going to be one of the greatest books for boxing, in my opinion, to ever come out. In my opinion, I have just a tremendous partner, and we're hacking away at it, and it'll be done hopefully very, very soon. But most of it's done now.
Oh, so the book is in the last parts of the process.
Yeah, right. Just graphic design and things like this are being, obviously we do a lot of proofreading. So every day
Mm.
we just read a chapter together, make sure the linguistics are clear, making sure that the process that the chronological order of the material is in a way that sets everybody up for the next. Just making sure it's spot on and perfect. And I just have really, like I said, the universe works really funny. So long for, like you said, many people have said, "Oh, I don't like this guy," but the people that are for me, like people that really bought into my system, and these are the type of people that like are coming my way now, and I really enjoy working with them, and it's just so much fun. And those are my partners. It's just a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sounds pretty interesting. Will it be like an ebook or will you make sure
Right,
that it's
because it has to be. We want to do a hard copy someday, but it'll be difficult because what happens is with the case studies, with the ebook, We want you to be able to read the material and then hit the link and go immediately to the film study. So obviously, this is better with the ebook than it would be with the hard copy.
Yes.
You know, unless technology goes crazy someday and you can add like a flip, flip page, but I don't think that's going to happen. So it's much better for ebook, especially my style of teaching and the fact that you have to reference so many things. But the book is so cool because there'll be a glossary in it with all my definitions, big man game, 130, like there'll be a glossary. So they'll, how people ask me questions all the time online. What does this mean? What does that mean? Like it really, like, my system has never been explained like this ever. And I think it's kind of like really layman's terms, and it's a sick book.
Well, I need that book. That's for sure.
Right.
Before we go, this weekend we have, I think this weekend, Masvidal versus Usman 2.
Ooh.
Oh, yes.
I guess what people would say from the first fight is Masvidal didn't have enough time to prepare, but he had a few weeks or something like this.
Yeah.
Right. So Usman is the champion. He's undefeated. He's been tested big time. The question is going to be, for me, can Masvidal can he get Usman's attention with a strike? And I very rarely talk about strikes. And the reason why I say this is because he really wants to slow the pace of the fight down. So you need to touch him quite early with a significant strike, not a knockdown, just significant enough of a strike that the guy goes, oh shit, I stepped forward and this guy is swinging, so he's ready to fight, cause a little bit of doubt in Usman's head. Now you could manage the fight to a manageable pace where you can be defensive and be offensive. But I think if it's frantic, and it's this frantic clinch, this frantic exchange, I think it favors Usman. So I think Masvidal has got to get control of the clock, slow the pace down, and give himself an opportunity to land something significant so he can control the clock and things like that. That would be my opinion. But if I had to pick a winner, I'm not going to bet against the champion on this one, as much as I love Masvidal.
Yeah,
I'm not going to bet against the champion. Yeah, I love Masvidal, but I'm not going to bet against the champion.
Yeah.
Only because he's defended multiple times. He's been there, done that. Masvidal's been there, done that. But the pace, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Masvidal can keep up with the Usman fight. If it's a Masvidal fight, you get to take your time, pick a guy apart, then I think it favors Masvidal. But I don't see Usman allowing that pace to happen unless he's been drilling, striking, and feels like he's, pure striker purely now and really wants to go toe-to-toe with Masvidal. I don't know. But the tough fight, I think I'll say Usman now. Who do you got winning?
I'm hoping Masvidal, but I'm thinking Usman. Because I don't buy in the excuse of he took the fight on 6 days notice, I think, but in the end he was like, I took it on 6 days notice, but the same goes for Usman. He couldn't really prepare for Masvidal either, so it's like So maybe with some better cardio he might make it a little bit more difficult, but I still think decision.
But yeah, mixed martial arts is so dangerous. And I think Usman's last fight he got hurt with the with the punch, I believe. So look, that's what's scary about mixed martial arts. It's such a scary sport, especially to train people for, because there's so much shit you got to prepare, and then the sport is always evolving. So it's not like, so it's a very difficult sport to train and prepare for.
Before we go, I will link everything in the description as well. But where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important places to find me, obviously, you can start with Instagram. I think, you have to really take advantage of my Instagram account. Even though my Instagram is not a development program, it's not. You're not going to learn how to drill from there and how to be coached, how to coach. But the information on there should at least open your mind to think a little bit different and possibly start to explore different routes. So Instagram, I think, is one of the most important places to come find me. Obviously, YouTube, Get Graded Boxing. I don't use Facebook so much, but there's Get Graded Boxing there. And but the most important thing, I don't think, for people, this is probably stupid to say, but it's not to contact me. It's that, like, I have a library. I think on my website I have, over 500 something or more videos, and I'm always uploading more, and the quality of the videos, not the older ones, because there's some older ones there from 2013, 2014, but anything that's made, it's invaluable education, and you're just not going to get this level of study. Yes, it's tedious to study like this. It's absolutely boring. I'll give it to you, but the education you'll get out of it if you can stick with it. So I don't really suggest, like, people should just dig into my materials. Get a subscription to the website. That's not a hard sell. The reason why I tell people to get a subscription to the website, even if you have my tutorials, like, you need to reinforce what you're learning. And in my tutorials, I'm constantly referencing fights anyway. So the best thing that you could do if you want to get confidence in what you're learning is a film study. And if you film study, I think everything starts to come together. So those are really the options. Go on Instagram, check me out. If you don't want to spend money, if you do want to spend money, I highly suggest getting my tutorials, because that's my actual program. That's how I train guys in the gym. If I tell you that I've won underdog fights, it's literally, I didn't hold back in the tutorials. I did not hold back. I really gave my all tutorials. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. But obviously, for free resources, I think YouTube and Instagram, great places to find my content and get to know what I'm about.
All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, brother. And I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. And now I'm gonna have my once we stop the recording, I have my exclusive.
Right. Right.